All right. I would like to welcome you and thank you so much for coming, Tim. Everybody, I would like to introduce you to Tim Walkman, right? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, I'm working.
Yes. And he's an outreach associate from Upwardly Global. And to give you a little bit background, when I first came to US, I had a bit of a problem. Like actually, it lasted three years to figure out how I can use my degree that I had and also the experiences that I had. And when I first came to US, people that were around me. When I asked them, the thing that they told me about was I'm getting distracted again because it's freezing. But they said, you can't find a job. Your degree is as good as nothing. So you might as well find any job that you can find and maybe go to school or something like that. And it was very strange. And I struggled for 3 years until I found Upworkly Global. And it was just amazing to have found them because it was exactly what I needed at that time. I needed their expertise. I needed for them to give me what my questions were in my mind. What am I going to do? How am I going to get my degree evaluated and all that? And I had such a wonderful experience, and they helped me do the resume and they helped me do. Tim, you were not there at that time, but this was back in 2017, December. It was an amazing experience, seriously. For the orientation, some of the people that I met there from all over the world had huge impact in my life and in my future, which is why, like, when I put up this 5 weeks challenge, the first people that came to my mind was, the Upwardly Global and the amazing thing that you do, because I feel like our community need to know this. And when I came here, they were not aware. And there are still a lot of people that don't know about your services, which is why I invited Tim today. And he's going to give us a presentation, and then we will have for 20 minutes, I believe. And then for another 10 or 15 minutes, we can have questions answered, right? So with that, Tim, I give you the floor.
Thank you so much, Sinaid. And yeah, you're one of our absolutely amazing alumna out in the community, doing great things for your community. And what you said is correct. We're always trying to get the word out about our services to people who might be in need. So I just want you to keep in mind today that even if you don't necessarily qualify or are interested in our services, please spread the word, especially now. I think employment services are so crucial. So let me tell you a little bit about Upwardly Global and what it is that we do. We are the first and the only nonprofit in the country, basically, that focuses specifically on immigrant and refugee professionals and helping them get back to work in the US. So how do we define a professional? So typically that is somebody that has a 4-year degree or higher from their home country, and a little job experience in there as well, ideally. We make exceptions for information technology professionals. We only require 2 years of college or more, or professional certifications, because those jobs are in such high demand, right? So we don't necessarily have as stringent of an education requirement, but I'll talk about eligibility more at the end. So immigrant and refugee professionals, now that we've defined that, they tend to struggle a lot when they come to this country. They struggle chiefly with job placement. There's lots of struggles to being an immigrant, right? But one of them is job placement. So getting back into your field. There are millions of immigrants who have a higher education who are either underemployed, which means that they're working outside of their field, or they're unemployed, right? So we, for instance, will see a lot of people coming into our program who are working in Uber, Lyft, Instacart. I'm sure you're all familiar with that. Working at the grocery store, the gas station, retail, restaurants, things like that. sometimes these people are medical doctors in their home countries, or engineers, or teachers, or business professionals, right? So our mission is just to make sure that you are not wasting your talent, your training, your skills in this country. And we want to make sure that you're able to actually provide for yourself and for your family in the way that you should be able to, given your training. So to give you a little sense of our impact, we work across four major job markets in the US. Those are chiefly New York City, Washington, D.C., Chicago, and the San Francisco Bay Area. We do offer remote services in 12 other states. So places like Atlanta, Georgia, Texas, because Austin and Houston are big markets, job markets right now. Washington State, King County, Seattle, that's a major job market, obviously. New Jersey, there's many other states in there that I'm forgetting or haven't mentioned. So we try to have as much coverage of the United States as we can, so we can reach everyone that we can who's in need. Currently, we are placing 1,000 people per year in full-time professional jobs in their fields, okay? So this means that we only count it as a placement. So if you come to our program and then you find, and you're, say, business or a logistics specialist, or you're like a program manager or something like that, and you get a job as like a manager at a Starbucks, we don't count that as a placement, right? So what we are focused on is getting you the exact same job that you expect, okay? If you're an engineer, we want you to get an engineer role. If you're a medical doctor, we want you to get a medical doctor role, or as close as possible. We'll talk about the licensed professions in just a second. So you see what I'm talking about. These placements are all at the level that these people should be at, okay? By that token, the average salary that our job seekers are earning after they successfully graduate our program and find work is $65,000 per year, okay? Of course, this varies a little bit depending on the job market. Some places the salaries are a little bigger because the cost of living is higher, right? And then of course there's variation in there. It's just an average. If you're an engineer, you can make well into the six figures. If you're a teacher, you might be making closer to the 65 range, something like that, right? One thing I want to emphasize, our services are absolutely free. If you get these types of services in the private market, on the private market, right? You'll pay hundreds or even thousands of dollars for equivalent services. And indeed, we are spending thousands of dollars to prepare each of our job seekers through our program, okay? You might be like, well, how do you cover your costs, right? Money doesn't grow on trees. Aware of that. So we actually get money from donors. We are a non-profit, which means that we do not operate to generate a profit, right? We get operating costs covered through donations through the private sector foundations, for example, and the public sector, so state and local governments. So we're able to cover all of our costs. So let's talk about our key services. What are our key services? Well, for an agency that helps people find jobs, you might not be that surprised, right? Resume development, building your professional connections, interview preparation, job search strategies, yada, yada, right? So the big thing I want you to keep in mind about our services and what makes our services unique, say, compared to a USA Jobs or One Stop Center or something like that, is we focus on everything that we do is from the perspective of the immigrant, someone who has a limited or zero knowledge of the US job market and how it works. How do you write your resume? That's a big question, actually. So Sanayat says we really helped her with her resume. That is a core focus of our program because it's a core focus of your job search journey. And it's not easy, let me tell you. Even for native speakers of English, the resume is very difficult. Why? There are formatting concerns. How do you format a resume? There's no formula for this. HR managers, hiring managers, recruiters, they haven't necessarily articulated this like perfect format that you can put your resume in. There's lots of wiggle room there. We have a perfect format for your resume. What does that format include? It has to include language that is very effective at communicating your experience. That can be very intimidating for someone who does not speak English as a native language. Some of our job seekers do, but not all, certainly not all, okay? We help you figure out the language portion of your resume, right? How to convey that experience. How do you convey your immigration status on your resume? Should you include that on your resume, and how should you include that? Right? How long should it be? What types of even individual verbs or action words are we using within that resume? How are we then customizing our resume to every job posting, right? So you start to see how the resume is central to just getting an interview. So we're very intensive on that and making sure that you really understand what goes into a good American style resume. Job search strategies, of course, to apply for jobs, you have to know where the jobs are. It's not always easy. Of course, you're not going into newspaper classified sections anymore. You're going online. Where do you go online? What are some of the best practices for applying for those job postings online? Licensing and certification, that is important for people who are engineers, doctors, lawyers, architects, accountants, teachers. I'm probably leaving something out there. The licensed professions are high responsibility professions. You are a civil engineer. You know how to build bridges. Bridges carry a lot of people on them. They have to be safe and they have to be in accordance with engineering principles. You have to demonstrate to the state of California that you are capable of building bridges. You may have built tons of bridges back home, very safe, beautifully engineered bridges, but still the state of California wants to know that you're capable of building those bridges. So you have to get a license. It's like driving a car. You need a driver's license, right? It's more complicated than that because you have to go through many steps to get your engineering license, say, or your medical license. Sometimes you have to take coursework, continuing education. You have to study for exams. You have to pay money to take exams to then pass and get your certification. So it can be an expensive and time-consuming process. We help you with that process. We help you with degree verification. We help you pay for your licensing courses and your certification costs. And we also help you with your job search right now. So if you're a doctor, it could take you 7 years in some cases because you have to redo your residency even after you pass your USMLEs, right? So we need to figure out what jobs you can work in today that are not Uber, Lyft, Instacart, grocery store, right? We want to make sure that you are putting your skills to work right now, whether that means you are a clinical researcher, if you're a doctor, which doesn't require a license, maybe you're a paralegal, maybe you're working underneath a licensed architect, maybe you're doing something with like budget analyst, if you're an accountant, something like that. Okay. Professional networking is another big part of what we do. That means the connections, the professional friendships that you are making in the US. 80% of jobs are secured in this country through personal connections. Called, in some contexts, it would be called nepotism. It sounds like it has a touch of corruption to it, but it's just the way human societies work, right? You know people, doors open. So we want to make sure that you know people in all of the right places. How do we ensure that? I'll tell you on a later slide, but we have lots of opportunities for you to actually build those professional connections. Interview preparation. Yes, interviews. We all know how intimidating interviews are, especially if you speak English as a second language. Even native speakers, I'll tell you, I go into an interview room and I'm, at a loss for words, or I'm speaking too quickly, or I'm nervous and I'm saying the wrong thing, or I miss the point of the question, right? So it's even harder for someone who is an ESL speaker, because you have to think through, in some cases, a less familiar language and lens, right? So we make sure that you are so prepared for the interview that you'll be better than the competition. We give you all of the tools and the frameworks that you need to successfully interview, okay? And we do lots of interview prep. So what can you expect when you join our program? So this is how it works. I will give you the link to our program where you can apply later on in a later slide. You'll apply for our program online. It's a quick and easy application, 5 or 10 minutes. We do have an English assessment. We require most people to take the English assessment when they enter our program, unless you are from an English-speaking country, okay? We require an English assessment for a very simple reason, which is that the US job market is all English all the time. Basically, everyone who is born in this country, the majority of people who are born in this country are unfortunately monolingual. Where you come from, it might be that you speak 4 or 5 languages. Sadly, that's not the case here. We do require that you have that English proficiency. So we require an intermediate level of proficiency. Then we will have you attend an orientation. This is about 2 hours of work. It's not that bad, okay? So once you're done with this, we'll move you into the online training. This is where you will get all of the basic building blocks of knowledge that all of our job seekers have to have, so that we're confident that we can begin working with them, with you. Okay, so what does it mean to market yourself to US employers? How do you interview in a US context? How do you build professional connections in this sort of cultural professional milieu? And then you'll continue working on your resume. So these modules are only about 3 or 4 hours. Once you're done with this basic training, we'll move you into the real meat of our program, the sort of heart and soul of our program, which is coaching and placement. So this is where you will be working with one of our amazing job coaches. They will help you with your job search journey, right? So they'll help you with your job applications. They'll help you link up to our networking events. And if they identify a technical training need, they will help you connect to one of those opportunities. So to give you a little more information about the job coach, what do they do for you? Well, they are your best friend at Upwardly Global. They are an industry specialist. They have been trained in your industry, in the hiring practices of your industry. So some of them, they'll specialize in engineering type roles and tech. Others will specialize in maybe the legal profession and healthcare, right? So they have different specialties. You'll be paired with the appropriate one. They will help you with your job search plan. What jobs are you looking for? What companies are you interested in? How do we get you from where you are today to employed, to where you want to be tomorrow? That's your sort of little contract that you have with them. So once you start applying for jobs, they will help you with what you need help with, okay? Cover letters, customizing your resume, preparing for your interview. If Google calls you, which they will, if you want to apply to Google, we'll put together a great package for you. When they call you back, they say, hey, we have an interview slot for you on Monday. We'll make sure to sit down with you over Skype, of course, or Hangouts, and prepare you for that interview. So you walk into the room prepared. Salary negotiation is another amazing thing that our job coaches can do for you. This is only for people who work in the private sector. Sometimes you must negotiate for your salary. If you're not used to negotiating in a North American context, we want to make sure that you do not endanger your employment prospects by doing something that might be considered uncouth or unkind or rude or something. It can be a little fragile, so we make sure that we are supporting you through that process. Networking, as we discussed, building those professional connections. You'll notice all of these big logos here. We partner with over 50 different companies, okay? These companies love us. Why do they love Upwardly Global? Well, I'll give you a clue. These companies spend millions of dollars every year on talent acquisition, which means that they are very interested in anyone who is a source, a potential source of talent, right? We are a potential source of talent. So what do they provide for us? What do they provide a lot of things for us. I could go into that, but that's for a different presentation. For your guys' sake, what you should be interested in is that they provide exclusive networking events for our job seekers. So that means that you will show up to a Zoom room, say a BlackRock Zoom room, and you will do some networking. You'll meet people, you'll go into breakout rooms, you'll have some one-on-ones, and you'll just meet more than a dozen professionals in one evening, and you'll be able to add them to your LinkedIn. Those professionals work at the company who's hosting the event, or they're from our volunteer pool, or they are just other job seekers from our program, right? Mock interviewing events, this is where you go and you dress up and you act like you're going to a real life interview, and you will pretend, well, it's real, but it's pretend, you will actually interview in front of a panel of HR people. So this is a great way to improve your interviewing skills and also meet people at these events. Informational interviews, that's just a fancy way of saying coffee dates. So getting on the phone in post-COVID world, it's getting on the phone or into Hangouts with someone that you're interested in talking to. You might say, I don't know who I'm interested in talking to. I guarantee you, you are interested in talking to somebody. Is it somebody who works at Boston Consulting Group? Maybe you've always dreamed of working there. Is it someone who works at Chanel, Airbnb? Is it someone who is from the Horn of Africa that works in some type of a professional role? Is it someone who speaks a certain language, right? What connections are you trying to make? We can make those connections happen because we know all of these companies. We have a database of over 7,000, actually close to 8,000 alumni now, okay? We have a huge pool of volunteers. So we can make any connection, I guarantee, that you want one-on-one. These sorts of informational interview dates are very useful for getting to know more about companies that you're interested in or roles that you're interested in, right? So that's our networking opportunities. We're almost done here. I just want to highlight our technical training opportunities. This is so important. Okay, if you are an IT professional, for example, maybe for example, we had say an IT professional from the DRC, right? Maybe they only worked in IT for a couple of years and it was a few years ago. Well, this person is probably going to want to update their knowledge. Maybe the IT system in the DRC is not the same as it is here in the US, right? That's why we have these training opportunities to make sure that your skills are fresh. We have tons of training opportunities and certification. So I just mentioned IT. We have CompTIA Security Plus for free, okay, certification. We have I think it's called CCNP. I might be messing that up. I apologize. We have all the different coding languages that you could imagine: Python, C#, C++, all that stuff. Project management, which is a huge certification for people. We can get you certified in project management. Salesforce administration. We have artificial intelligence courses. The list really goes on and on. So if you need to refresh your skills, or if you want new skills, we can figure out something that works for you. It's all free, or it's scholarship based, right? We can provide $2,000 towards that training. This is also important, like I said, for the licensed professionals. We can get you your courses paid for. For example, for the professional engineering certificate, we can get those courses paid for, okay? We can get your prep courses paid for certified public accountant, stuff like that. Okay, so just to keep in mind. And that's a huge value for you guys, right? So that could cost hundreds or even thousands of dollars on the private market. So Everyone knows that the economy right now is faltering. It's worse than it was. And if it's not worse than it was, then it's very different from what it was prior to the pandemic. But even if you don't join Upwardly Global, I want you to be hopeful about the economy. Why? Companies are still hiring. Okay. How do we know that? We look at all of the data. We look at the Bureau of Labor Statistics data. We look at everything. We are tracking the hiring demand, and we know that the demand for hires has not gone away. It has shifted. How else do we know that companies are still hiring? Because they're still hiring our job seekers. Prior to the pandemic, it was taking job seekers about 6 months on average. Okay, some people were significantly less than that. Some need a little bit more preparation. They have a few more challenges and busy lives and stuff like that. So 6 months on average to place into a professional job. After the pandemic, it's only 7 months, okay, on average. So it's slowed down, but it has not gone away. Another thing, professional jobs are more secure. Professional, so the Instacart, the Uber, well, maybe not Instacart, right? But the Uber, the Lyft, the restaurant jobs, those have all been really unstable, not good, right? So it's those jobs on that sort of the gig economy and the hourly positions that have really been negatively impacted by a loss of hours and workplace health and safety concerns. The professional sector has gotten away scot-free during the pandemic. Everything has gone online, okay? And those jobs have proven more durable because of it. So that just is to illustrate that not only should you remain hopeful, but you should be continuing to work towards that professional job, even right now. You're on UI, you're working, or maybe you're not on UI, you're working Uber, Lyft, or you're not. Maybe you're like, I don't know, the job market seems really scary and bad right now. No, you should be working towards that job right now. It's critical, okay? And we help keep you competitive. We help you follow the demand, sell yourself, build your connections and your skills so that you emerge stronger than ever now, 7 months from now, on the back end of this pandemic, right? Okay, so yeah, reasons to be hopeful. So we have concluded this now, but I just want to look at our eligibility criteria. I don't want you to dwell on our eligibility criteria. We serve over, so and the reason I don't want you to dwell on our eligibility criteria is because they can be unclear. So usually the best way to find out if you qualify is to apply. Okay, we serve 17 different types of visas in our program with work authorization, okay? And those are immigrant or humanitarian visas, if you're interested in how those are categorized. Bachelor's degree or higher from your home country. Again, if you are an IT professional, we only require 2 years of college or a certification. Okay. Intermediate English. Again, we do have an English assessment. It's listening and reading. It's a 1-hour test. We require an intermediate score on that test. 7 years or less in the US. We do go up to 10 years in the US. We know that it has been difficult for a lot of people to get change of status under the Trump administration and maybe even now the Biden administration. We'll see. It's been difficult for immigrants for a host of reasons because of the coronavirus, things like that. So we do have some leniency in our time requirement, for example, mothers who are returning to the workforce, things like that. Limited or no professional experience in the US. Major caveats here. We are not very strict on this and we're not very clear on what this means right now. So even if you have a little professional experience, do feel free to apply. What do I mean by professional experience? Full-time, in your field at your level. That doesn't count contract work, part-time work, things like that, okay? So again, confusing, this is our full program. You can find information about our program here, upwardlyglobal.org/programs/, okay? That's where you go to learn more about what I just covered in this presentation. And there's a button there that you can apply at to find our application, okay? And to submit that application. We also have free trainings right now. It's called our public portal. I encourage you to check out this URL as well. Maybe you're not ready for the full Upglow program. Maybe you want to see some online offerings. We have great stuff about professional English communication, great stuff about the virtual interview on there. I would have to refresh my memory, but there's a couple of other modules on there that you'll find of interest. This is my contact information. I encourage you to write that down. tim@upwardlyglobal.org. Please feel free to reach out to me at any time. I tend to respond very quickly. I can answer any questions you have. Questions about the program, questions about your particular situation. Maybe you need a little advice on your job search right now or this or that, right? So feel free to reach out to me. My door is always open. And I think that concludes my presentation. So we can go into questions. I hope I didn't go over time. No, it looks like we got good time.
You're good. Thank you so much for all the good information. And so I took a picture of this, and then when I'm done, I am going to post this information for the live Facebook, so that they can have it there and they can write it down. Okay. And if you would like to remove that, you can.
Sure.
Or we can also talk like that. So thank you. Oh my God.
Thank you.
Said there are so many organizations that love you, and all for good reason. I'm one of them. I really love your organization because, like I said before, when I first came, I had no idea how to it was confusing. People tell you different things, and then you get lost. I'm shocked. And I was working as a caregiver, the first job that I had, and I was told by people who were here, and it's not a blame. It's just lack of information. They didn't know, even though they came before me, they didn't know that information. And the information I was given was my degree was not good, right? Even though, I work for international NGOs back home that enjoys equivalent to nonprofit in US. And also I worked for UN agencies, and I had a lot of experience, and I had a degree in sociology and anthropology. So I was like, I came, yay, I'm in US and I'm gonna get a job. And that was not reality, right? So you were right. I mean, if you come to US as a doctor, you should be as a doctor, right? I'm just summarizing what I heard you say for the people that are listening, also from my experience. So if you are an engineer, you are an engineer. Like, for example, my husband is an engineer. He comes from Italy. He had no problem coming here and being an engineer right away, so that he can enjoy his life and explore the country, right? A lot of people that I know also, they come as a doctor from Europe, and they become a doctor. Maybe it might take them some time, but they're in that field. But for people from developing nations like me, I come from Africa, Eritrea. The biggest struggle is, okay, we made it to US. That's another topic. It's a big process to get here. And then you can't wait to start working. And then you find out you might not be able to work. You might not be an engineer if you are an engineer. My dad is an engineer. He came here, and then right away he wasn't able to find a job as an engineer, right? So we had to do all this kind of transitional jobs and trying to figure it out. And that's why I love your organization, because everybody should know about your organization, because you have done the work. You are there, making it easy for people like me and people who come from, different parts of the world that's not Western world. When I came to Upwardly Global, I mentioned the resume, and then I have to admit, I did not get to the rest of your programs, because right after I did the orientation, I did not do the English testing, because I come from a country where English is the mode of learning. So I did the orientation and did the resume, and guess what? I got hired like that. So I did not continue. I did not need to continue the program. But it's really amazing. I learned a lot of things from what you said, and I really encourage people to. That's my mission. I'm going back and then finding what helped me and then making it available to people. So, and you said a few things like, you know, we come here and I knew everything that I had this skill to get a job, to be in the interview, and you know, to do my resume. Come on, I was well educated, but not to the U.S. system. The U.S. system is very different, and you help. Like, I didn't know what CV resume was. My first question was, what's resume? You mean CV? My curriculum vitae? What? So those tweaking, right? And then also the cultural cues. Like, if I know how to interview, I have been into multiple interviews, but with the US employees, it's a very, very different, right? So because you have to learn the cultural cues and all that. And I love that you prepare the clients to do all that. So it doesn't matter whether we came here as a doctor or as an engineer. It's unfortunate that we can't get a job right away like that. But Upwardly Global is like a bridge that helps, that takes away the pain of, you know, frustration and trying to find our way, and you get people to where they need to be. So I really thank you. That's what I got. And some of the things that you mentioned about the pandemic was really, really amazing, because right now it's hard for everyone. It's not just for immigrants, it's hard for everyone, and people panic. And the first to panic is the people that are, you know, new here, and they don't know how to handle all this situation. And I love how you said we don't have to panic and then go back to transition jobs. We can still be hired in the jobs that we were prepared for. We have expertise in, and we have educations in. We just have to be hopeful, and we have to, you know, go through some of the things that we need to get there, like using Upwardly Global can be one of it. Right. So thank you so much. And I'll see if there is there anything that I missed? I'm just trying to generalize it so we don't waste a lot of time. But if there is anything that I missed, you can step up, Tim. So now I give time for people. If they have any question, now would be the time. Anyone have a question? Let me see also from the Facebook Live on my phone. If there's any question there. Okay. Yep. I don't see any question, but I have had a few questions that was sent to me to my text. So I'll ask you those questions if it's okay.
Sure.
So one of the questions I got was, I was writing as you were talking, are there similar organizations in Europe or Canada? Maybe I should have started with something else, but somebody who is in Europe asked this question, who's in my group.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could tell you. Maybe fortunately or unfortunately, depending on your perspective, our focus is very squarely on the US. You know, we're not an international organization, so we don't really have a lot of those connections. I don't know how permanent that's going to be. There might be some desire for us to go more international, but the Canadian system, I think that there's a little bit more of a robust workforce system that caters to immigrants there. It's worth looking into. I'm not exactly sure, but I have heard a few words here and there that in Canada there is kind of a very different, and there is more sort of support, I think, even at the federal level in Canada for professional immigrant integration into the professional workforce. So I think it's a little bit more lenient there. There are less challenges. There are fewer challenges. Maybe Europe is just like it's so fractious. There's so many different countries, so many different policy making bodies. I mean, it's just like I have no idea. You would have to look into that. But
okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I can't be of more help on that question.
No worries. Somebody just asked that question, and we just wanted to know if you have any networking with the, Europe and Canada. I actually did not know this. I learned something new today. I didn't know how many did you say? You said 12 other states you actually in US are virtually available to them. And I did not know this. And that's amazing. So thank you for that.
And we're always looking at the data. So, we get applications from states that we don't serve, we get inquiries, we get, and we're looking at sort of how the sort of geographic distribution of the economy. So, for example, there's been some, outflow of tech, particularly to like Texas, stuff like that. So, we're always looking to add more states, and we just have to be able to make the case, to our
Yeah.
board. But yes, we do have a lot of coverage, and if you go on our program page, you can
Yes.
see exactly what those states are that we serve.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And the next question I have is, so some of this, the things, the emotions that we go through coming from developing nations is overwhelm, right? And lack of confidence also, because yeah, we come here and then we expect to work right away. For some reason, it's not really in our mind before we come, we're going to struggle again to find a job. So the need to get to work right away is really high because you have to pay your bills and stuff like that. So we get overwhelmed, and we also look around, and the US is very, oh my God, very loud. And everything is like, so fast, so a little bit, less confident, if I may say. I've experienced it now. Like, oh my God, everybody knows everything. I don't know what I'm doing. Oh my God, So is there anything in your program that helps your clients to build confidence, or maybe to bring down the level of overwhelm or anything like that? Like in all those issues, do you address them, or do you have a program, or do you have coaching, anything like that?
Yeah. So, we firstly, our program is designed hopefully with that in mind, which is that we're trying to remove those barriers, those confidence barriers, and make sure that you're standing tall on your own 2 feet and able to, face down the panel of interviewers with every bit of confidence as your American counterpart. That's
Right.
our primary focus. And I know what you mean about the psychological. There's more profound psychological effects to immigrating to a new place that I've only heard about and haven't experienced myself, but I can only imagine. But I think another great thing about our program is that a lot of our staff are actually immigrants, and they have a similar experience to you. We do have staff who are from Eritrea, Ethiopia. We have staff from Nigeria. We have staff from Syria. We have staff from Albania. We have staff from literally, I mean, every corner of the globe, China, so it's India. So I could keep going, but we, always try to make it our purpose and our mission and our goal to ensure that you guys are feeling as absolutely confident as you should feel. Because once we get you to that place where you really understand how the system works and how to manipulate it, you're just as competitive as everyone else with your background, with your experience, with your education. So for us, that is a big focus. Yeah.
Perfect. That helps. I remember I didn't go through the whole process, like I said, but just attending the orientation was like a game changer for me, because there were different people from different country with different experiences talking about their experience. Oh my God, even about their frustrations and all. That helped me a lot. Oh my goodness, I'm not alone in this. I'm so happy that you do that. The next question I have, how long does it take? I think they meant to say, how long does it take before they get the job, from the day that they sign up with you to the time that they get the job?
Yeah, so we say 4 to 6 months on average. Like I mentioned, it's a little bit slower. It's about a month slower post pandemic. So there's a number of factors that depends on. The first one is like the level of your knowledge. Some folks take a little bit longer to get up to speed on the sort of the job system here. Some people do require adding extra skills. So maybe you're getting involved in, like, say, taking certain IT certification courses that maybe make your job search a little bit longer. But then again, some people, it really depends on you. Also, level of availability. Some people are very busy, right, with their families and providing
Right.
for their families and for themselves.
Yeah.
But some people are really ready to go out the door. Like, for example, Sinai, you came in, you did orientation, and then you placed in a job, right? So some people do go faster, and that's just it. There's a bevy of factors that go into that. But I think a related question that we often get is there a time limit on our program? Technically, there is a time limit, but most people are not going to reach that time limit. I think it's 1 to 2 years. I have to look at what the official thing is, but our goal is to make sure that you place in a job before that. Okay, so like I said, 4 to 6, 7 months now is what we say on average. And in the scheme of life, that's not really a long time, especially when you are just learning something new. Like, you're learning about a new job system, a new professional milieu, everything's so new and fresh for a lot of people. And maybe they have certain skill gaps. So that's really not that long of a time when you think about it. So don't be discouraged by that, right? That 7 months is going to go by either way, right?
Right.
So,
Right. It's just the nerves, right? The lack of patience. You just want to get, things done. But if it's done correctly and with your program, they will be able to, within 7 months or so, will be able to get somewhere higher or in that direction, is what I hear you say. There's one question that came in. Hold on. Do you have a job? Do you have a vacancy at your Upwardly Global?
I think we're hiring for a director of communications. So if you're interested in that type of a role, if you have that, relevant experience there, roles are always opening up. If you have experience helping people find employment, we have employment services associate type roles. I think that one good website to look on, I don't think we advertise our jobs on our website, but if you go to idealist.org, so particularly if you're interested in nonprofit and NGO work, that's a great place. Every once in a while, you'll see an Upwardly Global job posting pop up there as well.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you, just personally, I wanted to ask, do you have people from Eritrea or Ethiopia work in your organization?
Yes.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have good representation from Africa itself. Nigeria,
Okay.
Rwanda, Ethiopia, Eritrea. Our director of one of our initiatives, one of our in-house initiatives, which is the capacity building initiative. She is Tigrinya speaker, Malet. So she's really awesome. So yeah, we do have that at our organization. We have had in previous times as well. So
yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you so very much. Those were the questions. Let me check one more time if there is anything on the Facebook Live. It's 1 o'clock, so people are at work. So it's almost 2 o'clock actually. So no, I don't have any more questions. Tim, I really thank you for taking the time to refresh my mind, but then again, also to let our people in our Facebook group and my clients and a lot of people that are going to watch this recording. It's very important, the work that you do. Like I said, I love your organization, like everybody else, for a good reason. And thank you for everything that you do. That's about it for me. If there is any question, we have I can give 1 minute. If there's any question from anyone here on the Zoom.
And I'll just say, just feel free to reach out to me at any time, and you can share my email address too.
I will actually give your contact and I will email our community and a lot of communities that I am in touch with so that you could they could invite you and you can do outreach as well.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you,
Good.
Tim.
Thank you so much. All right.
Have a wonderful day.
You too. Bye, guys.
Bye. Bye.